Hey, I'm Tony Morra. We are in Franklin, Tennessee, in my home studio called the Downtown Battery. What we're always chasing as drummers is a clean, clear tone. Some drums, you hit them and they're perfectly in tune and boom, and they have this long decay, which is kind of nice, but that would get in the way of a bass tone or any kind of vocal if it's a true pitch. So there's a way to reel that in, kind of. You know, you want a great tone, but you want it to be consistent, and consistent from drum to drum, and especially on your snare drum, because that's your main bad boy. I studied at a drum shop in New York City called the Modern Drum Shop. This guy Joe Casada owned it. He was a big-time jazz drummer. That's who I studied with, and then I worked there. And I actually built drums. And most humbly, I built drums for everybody in New York. Steve Jordan, Steve Gadd, Anton Fig, Steve Ferroni. I did stuff for all of them through this guy, Artie Smith, who was their Cartage guy. So I got an incredible lesson about how to build drums and everything about drums. This snare drum was a shell that was left over. We ordered a shell and we were going to do a stained finish, and there was an anomaly on the shell, so we couldn't stain it. So the boss used to just throw them out. And I'm thinking, I'll take it. I'll take it. These are my father's drums from 1948. They're 1948 Radio King drums, and they're the drums I learned how to play on, and I was very blessed and spoiled to have them. At one point, he got really sick, and he had cancer, and you know, the doctor was like, he's got to do stuff. He's got to, you know, he's got to move around. We don't want him sedentary. So what I did is I redid this whole kit to be as close to original as it could be. And so I set them up for him, and while I was doing that, I'm like, I got that drum shell. I'm gonna use, he liked the big snare drum because Gene Krupa used to use a big snare drum in the old days. So I'm gonna get the drum. I got the hardware, which those days was hard to get. I got it all together for him, got the original strainer, and great 10-ply shell, it's a Keller shell. Put the snare bed in, put the edges on, put it together, surprised him with, Dad, come downstairs. I want you to play. I want you to look at this project that was working on. So I took the cover off, and you know, it was a very special moment. I'm not going to get emotional. So he loved it. He was so happy, and he, you know, went down there and played, and he was, you know, it was great. And he did. He got him to play the drums. So it was a wonderful thing. But the OCD perfectionist side of me was like, man, that snare drum does not sound good, man. I was like so disappointed. I'm like, well, he's happy. As long as my father's happy, that's fine. That's great. You know, long story short, he winds up passing away. Very sad. And you know, but it was. He went. He's home. He's doing his thing now. He's playing in heaven. So that's great. So of course I inherited the drum kit. I use it all the time. It sounds fabulous. And I have this snare drum that I built for him, and it just sits there on the shelf. So I don't know what the heck made me pick this drum. I guess because Vlad had said to me that, I think it was Steve Ferroni said he had a pig. You know, he's like, it's a pig, man. It ain't happening. You know, it's like a boat anchor. Put a chain on it because it's not a good snare drum. So because I built it for my dad, I don't want to call it a pig, but it wasn't, it was a piglet. So when I met Vlad at a parking lot through my friend John Hammond, who's another drummer in town, he gave me the Tonewings, and he was coming to town, and I was like, okay, I got to find the drum I use least. And once I got the 1.5 inches of dust off of this thing, I took it apart and I put the Tonewings in it, and I set it up behind the kit. And also, because I worked in a drum shop for that time, I have seen so many fad things come through. Self-tuning things, stuff that I'm not a gadget guy. Like if you look at my kit, it's just, I'm not a big gadget guy. Like a moon gel, that's a gadget for me. I'm not a gadget guy. So I was a little bit like, you don't want to put more metal on a drum. Everybody's trying to get the drums less metal, more wood, you know, and you don't want to add stuff to it because that's going to take away from the tone of the drum. Well, you know, I don't know if it's some special space age polymer that he discovered in his backyard or something, but I hit the drum and it was a totally different drum. And actually when I tuned it low, when I tuned it up mid to high, it's got a pop and a pocket. That's great. When I tune it really low, it's almost like a tom now. It almost sounds like a full-on tom-tom. So I have to dampen it a little bit. But when I do, I mean, you have to dampen any snare drum to not get those overtones. But when you dampen it, sometimes you lose the girth, the poof. But this, you still get it with this. There's that girth of the drum, that poof, that part that hits you here. And this drum has it. It didn't have that before. It's so gratifying. You know, it's like, I'm happy that I could use the drum that I built for my dad. You know, it's a thing. You know, I'm Italian. We're all about the passion. We're all about that stuff. You know, the bottom line is the producer and the artist have to be happy and they have to get what they get. But if I could get a little of that satisfaction, you know, personal satisfaction, that's even a plus. So it's not only do I have a better sounding drum, but, you know, it's also brought like a great feeling of, you know, that, oh wow, I'm using this thing, you know, that was really built for my dad. And I felt so bad. Every time, you know, I'd go to cull some stuff, because I'd buy a snare drum, I don't like that one, and I'd be like, well, maybe I should just get rid of it. I have a nephew who plays, maybe I'll just send it to him. And I said, I just can't, I gotta hold on to it. But I always felt bad, because it was like in that list of, yeah, maybe this one needs to go. And now there's not a chance that it's going anywhere. You know, except in my case to Blackbird, Omni, you know, all the studios around town and here.